Hi, I'm Jill Novak, and I'm here today with Jody Dicastri. Jody and I have been working together for eons. And lately, there's been this really interesting question that's been coming to the surface for us. And it's this idea of your growth path and being connected to essence, and then being disconnected to essence. And I don't know, Jody, those are sort of the Enneagram kind of words. If we were going to bring that to yoga, we might say source, being connected to yourself, being connected to divine. And then the power of that, like the power of your own growth path when you are connected to that essence.
Yeah, the Enneagram defines essence as like your natural gifts, you know, the things that you do without thinking, and just your effortless effort around just being wonderful, you know, and being shiny and vibrant and contributing to your own well-being and that of others. And it's that on the weekend, we did an Enneagram course, you and I, with our teacher trainers, and we referred to it like as that liquid gold that just kind of courses through us, and nothing can take it away. Nothing can rob us of it, but it can get really it can get really sheltered. It can get really contracted sometimes. So I think that's what you mean when you say essence, is like, how do we get removed from that golden part of ourselves?
And there's this quote that's been fascinating me lately that says, that which is within you must come forth, because if it does not come forth, it will destroy you. And if if it does come forth, it will save you. And I feel like that, like there's a piece of intelligence in there around that idea of growth path. Like, how do you take that essence and give it life, give it external life in this world, bring your gifts forward? And it's almost like in delivering the content that weekend, that last weekend, there was also this big ask, specifically, I felt like, of you to bring that gift forward and offer it in a really tangible way outside of yourself. And what happened for me, and I think for the 16 people who are participating in the course, is that we got to connect to your essence because you lifted it out of yourself and offered it externally to us. So I wanted to know some stuff around, what is the pathway? What is the growth path to be able to do that?
Honestly, I think that's the promise of the Enneagram, is that when we find our Enneagram number, each one of us is going to have a specific and really sacred growth path, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to look different for me than it is for you. And, you know, some of us will have similarities in sort of what's called the work, right? What we have to kind of get after to get into the good stuff. But for me personally, what lets me get to that spot is two things. One is structure. And one is, I'm very prone to isolation. Like, I can, you know this about me, right? It's like, you kind of have to come get me sometimes, because, you know, I like being in my house, and I kind of have the things that make me happy, safe, and comfortable. And I can just kind of hang out there too long. And so I know that if I want to actually be effective at something, going it alone is not always a good scenario for me. And some people will have the opposite growth path, right? Some people will have to do exactly the opposite of that. It's like, you're actually going to have to be by yourself for an uncomfortable amount of time to kind of flush out that liquid gold. For me, I need to reach out, and I can often forget that. So the week leading up to the course that we were just in, you had said to me, what do you need this week? And I said, I just need you to check in with me. And I was asking the same of my husband, Kyle. It's like, I need to externalize. Otherwise, I kind of get in the head, right? And when we get too much in the head, then nothing really gets out of us in a good, efficient way. So structure, I need to build structure for myself. I would get up every day, get on my yoga mat, light my candles, use my essential oils, And then I would get to the work of planning whatever it is I had to do. And without those things, I turn into water.
Yeah. So that's what I think my question is I think for everyone structure is different.
Totally.
And what other ways would you define it? Because I just think sometimes it's habit or ritual or routines, like how it's like almost like how do you design your day to be able to connect to that essence and allow it to surface? Is it about allowing it to surface? It's like, I don't know, those are my questions. Like, is it just the act of going through your processes to connect that then creates the result?
Yeah, you use the word ritual, and that's a big one for me because the word routine doesn't work for my brain. It makes me feel trapped. It makes me feel like I have to and should. When I use the word routine or ritual, then it makes me feel like there's some creative freedom in that. And it's like the routine of doing yoga, the routine of the ritual of doing yoga for me. Yes, it is a routine, but it feels like it's more connected to my essence, which makes me feel more in flow with it. So I really like different changing up words so that I feel like it not tricks my brain, but makes me feel like I'm not trapped in doing things that I don't want to do. Because the word structure is not an easy word for me.
Well, the fact that to me, you mentioned lighting a candle and getting essential oils out and how that was a part of the process of creating your course. To me, it's like, I mean, that's the sort of thing I might personally roll my eyes at and go like, oh, come on, really? Like you need to sit at your desk and get your work done. But I like that idea because I think it's true, where do the things that connect you to your source, your essence, because those are the things that will bring forth your gifts. So it's not necessarily about being productive kind of structure. It's about the rituals that connect you inward. And I think that's where the confusion comes in our society almost, is that we think that this productivity comes from this external work. And yet what you mentioned was I get up, go to my mat, light a candle, put essential oils around me. And that inward time is somehow part of the ability to outwardly offer.
And I think too, when we look at the chakra system, right now I'm teaching in my Monday time slot. Each week I'm going through the chakras. And it was kind of cool because leading up to this big weekend of teaching this course, I was teaching about the Manipura, the belly center, and getting in touch with your own power. And we hear that word power and we think, oh, it's dominating and it's over top of other people and I'm controlling my environment. It isn't that at all. It's the opposite. It's actually, I have my source, my liquid gold, my essence kind of surging and flowing in the right way. And so I was getting ready for this week and I did a solar plexus class, and it was hard and it burned and it was uncomfortable. But I'm the type of person that I need that. Like I need that kind of little kick in the butt and that spark for me to remember like, oh yeah, like you got this, you can do this, right? Other people are going to need other things. They might need a yin practice, right? I need that fire and I need to remember that those embers are in there. And then that gives me that inner fuel. And I think we can hear chakras and think, oh, they're so woo woo, but they actually work. It's like, what do I actually need today in terms of my practices and my rituals? You know, do I need to calm down? Do I need to rise up and remember my own power? So it's interesting to work with those in a personal way. And I've had good luck with that. You know, what do I need to soothe right now? What do I need to, and that's your whole work. You've based your whole business on that. Like how do we need to achieve balance in ourselves so that we can be in good flow with ourselves?
Well, it feels to me like you just talked about Agni, which is the fire, and yoga would even use the word tejas, like the word of passion and transformation.
Yeah.
And that you identified in yourself, that's what I need. I need some fire. I need to build this fire in my belly so that I can get this out. And some people need prana. They need that life force, the movement through them. And then others need to go back to their container and make
Yeah.
sure that their ojas is getting strong. But really, like there's a balance needed. And so what you're speaking to is sort of the balance for everyone is slightly different, because some people are going to have to just cool your fire. Come on, cool your fire. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the work we were doing on the weekend with the Enneagram, is that once we can kind of figure out what we're up to, then we can get to work and realize where we need to sort of like, where's the antidote for me? Like, how am I going to approach something that's coming up for me that I need to really be awake to, right? What's the best way for me to guide myself there so that I can feel good about what it is I'm doing and showing up for? And then how do we mentally prepare ourselves for something really big that's coming up? Maybe you're going back to work and you've been away for a while. Your meditation practice might be really important right now to calm the chatter in the mind and to get things really clear. And so that's what I love about the Enneagram, is it helps us give ourselves, what pathway am I on and how am I going to get there?
Yeah. And I mean, last week for you was very specific. You had this, a result, really, a product that needed to come to fruition very, very significantly at the end of the week. And then this week you moved into a week that you said had more flow, had more wateriness to it. Like your outcomes weren't as definable. And one thing that we've been talking about is just this idea of when you are connected to your essence, it's almost like, I'm not positive that that's when high motivation is, but it's almost like when you're connected to that essence and that flow of being able to bring your gift to the world is present, there's a certain routine or ritual necessary. And then when you find yourself in the state where you are disconnected from that place, there's something else necessary to help you connect back in. Can you speak to that a little bit for me?
Well, I can only speak personally to it. Like my personal growth path is going to be different than someone else's. But I know for me, when I lose the container of structure, and so the week before last, the container was, I had to have a course ready to deliver, right? And so I was working within the confines of delivering a course. Now that's done, it's complete. And I didn't have as much on my plate this week, which was nice. It felt good. But for me personally, if I'm there too long without structure, and one other key thing for me, that isolation piece. Mm-hmm. I know that when I don't have something on the go, I'm prone to just kind of going within. I need to get out. I know it's hard right now in COVID, but I need to book walks with friends. I need to connect with other people. And the Enneagram tells us that when we can bring up what's repressed or asleep in us, then it's almost like we're looking through cloudy glasses for so long. And when we bring up the thing that's asleep, it's like everything gets bright and everything becomes wonderful again. And it's because we've done the work of accessing that part of us that goes dormant or goes into habitual pattern, right? And then it's like going to the gym or working a certain yoga pose that's hard for you. After a while, your body starts to get used to that feeling. It's like, oh, here I go. I have no structure. I don't have a lot on the go. I feel myself withdrawing. I feel myself isolating. I know what I need to do. I need to see people and I need to create a new problem in a way, right? I need to find a new project for myself. And that's how I get back in touch with my essence. And so it's almost like catching yourself in the act. It's like, oh, there I go again. There I go again. What's one small thing that I can do today? And it might just be going for a walk by myself doesn't count. I have to involve somebody else for my health and for my well-being to be a little bit more integrated. So
it like that almost sounded to me like it was like same. It's the same principle that I need to do when I have that big project. It's the same principle that I have to follow as when I don't have the big project. But it's almost like when the big project's on the horizon, you can't let yourself get disconnected from essence.
Right.
But yeah.
And this is what I was saying to you earlier. It's like, there's a really fine line, and the mind is a tricky thing. There's a really fine line between I just finished a big project. And we can use words like, well, I deserve to rest, or I deserve to take a break, or I'm allowed to kind of be indulgent, or whatever it is that we might do. And then it's like, okay, well, where's the personality or the ego actually driving the behavior? And how am I getting further and further away from my essence? Like it's almost like we need to have a practice where we realize when I'm at that, I think your language would be that tipping point, right? Where's that line where it's like, if I step over here, things are going to get a little bit more slippery for me. So what do I need to bring up? And for me, it's my yoga practice. Like I have been doing it at night this past week. That's not a good thing for me. For some people, it might be, absolutely. For me, the best thing is for me to get out of bed around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, put on yoga clothes and get straight onto my mat. And that is the first thing that sets the tone for my structure.
Yeah.
Right. And that's sort of the tipping point for me. It's like, oh, okay, you're doing your yoga practice at night. How's that working? Not as good.
I find that when it's happening at night, it's because I've not prioritized it all day. And finally at the end of the day, I'm like, oh my God, I bet I have to get this in. And it's now sort of more like a check mark.
Yeah.
It does help me go to bed better, but you're right. So part of this is sort of giving yourself some non-negotiables and figuring out what your non-negotiables are, so that, like when I start my day right, then this unfolds for me. My day unfolds in this beautiful, connected way where I feel like my essence is, part of my day. When I don't start my day right, it's harder to it's harder to live my day in that place of essence.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think if you're a journaler, I'm more of a doodler. I'm not really a journaler, but if you were, journaling would be amazing, because then you could see, okay, when I do my yoga practice at night, I feel what, versus I do my yoga practice right out of bed, I feel what. Yeah. And then you can kind of see the comparisons between, what it looks like to be in flow and what it looks like for the personality to think you're in flow, but you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this idea, like we can all visualize it, right? You can visualize your day when it's like, oh, I got up and stretched and I was ready to start my day. And I had this sort of uplifted feeling right from the get-go. And then how did my day unfold? And then you can picture the day where you press snooze like 4 times and it felt like you were working against gravity even to get yourself out of bed. Yeah. And you know the pathway of those 2 days. And one of them feels very connected to essence and one of them doesn't. So that's what was interesting to me, I think, is that you and I have been around each other lots, that we're witnessing each other's growth paths right now. And we're witnessing the new, witnessing, maybe I'll speak for myself. I'm witnessing your increased capacity to allow that gift within you to be present in all you do in a way that just feels like it's divine. It feels like it is, it's a gift to me that you are in that place. It's a gift to everyone who is able to attend our training this weekend, that you are able to be in that place, because it is one of those things that is what gives permission to everyone else to step into there. Like, it's that idea of you shine your light and it will help other people shine theirs. But I really felt like that this weekend, that I got to witness this next level of growth that you're able to connect to.
Yeah. And I think when we're working with our essence and especially, midlife time, halfway through life, if we've been disconnected from it for whatever reason, life happens, it might not feel familiar. So you might see like a little firefly of it and then it goes back. And then you see a little bit more and then it goes back. And to have it be out all the time, I mean, that would be enlightenment, right? Mm-hmm. To be shining in that way all the time and not have our personality constructing how we're going to be in the world. So when we're not used to having it out a lot, it can feel really vulnerable. And it can kind of feel like you're writing with your left hand if you're right-handed. It's like, this is a little bit of scary territory for me. So just trying it on in little bits and bites and little tiny pieces until you feel like, you know, okay, I can shine this more consistently. I can be this way more often. And showing up with primary relationships with essence is the hardest thing. It's almost like the last stop. It's like, it might be easier to do it out in the world. Well, try that on with, you know, your best friend that you grew up with, or your own family, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I love that idea that our growth path is to test it out and then keep it safe, test it out a little bit more, notice your ability to stand in that essence for a little while longer and have less of the armor around you protecting you. Is the person armor?
Yes. Yeah. One of the homework assignments we had people in our course do was, where are you and what happens to you when you are in presence? Like, and start to put those pieces together, because that's what we want to create more of. It's like, okay, when I am here, location wise, I feel in flow with me. And then notice the opposite. Where am I not in presence? Where am I not in my essence and flow? And to really, and that's where journaling comes in. It's like, I'm really starting to notice where I feel the most me. Who am I with? You know, and some people that are more in touch with like the five senses, they might even notice like the feeling in the body or the smell in the air. Like, what am I doing when I'm really in touch with who I am? And just start to get really curious. You know, you almost become like an investigator of your own essence. Like, how do I get that more often?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to one of our favorite books, The Yamas and Niyamas. So Brahmacharya is non-excess. And one of the questions at the end of the chapter, I think, is exactly what we were just talking about. Contemplate your own divinity. Are you willing to be sacred? Write down 3 practices that connect you to your passion and your sacredness. And I think in some ways that summarizes the exact thing that we're talking about today, this connection to essence. So what is it? What would your practices be that connect you to essence? How could you build your rituals? Or maybe you're going to use the word habits, or maybe you're going to use the word structure or routines. How do you build those into your day so that you're purposefully connecting to essence every day?
And then I think it's your language that says, and then they become non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Right. They're immovable out of my day. You know, in the same way, most of us, you know, have some sort of beverage routine or ritual in the morning, right? You make the tea or you make the coffee or the lemon water, whatever you're drinking. And it's like, unless you were having a really bad day, those things would always remain.
Yeah.
Right. And so you start to insert these things in your practices that don't move, that don't, you know, they don't move out of your daily routines.
Yeah, they become automated. And so that you're living your life in a way that the things that connect you to essence are automated in your daily small choices. I don't know. I think, thank you, Jody. I wanted to have that conversation while we were still just so ruminating in it so much. So thank you for indulging me with that.
You're welcome.